Hello, and today we're going to be tying a hair jig on another Ned style jig head. In the vise, I have a tail shank. You can also just use a cheaper hook and cut the shank off when you're done. For the tail on this, I'm using the UV Galaxy Mop Chenille, and that tail is about a half an inch long. So this hair jig is made to imitate the Ned style soft plastics. So I'm using the Easy Bug yarn from Cascade Crest. It gives it that thicker profile like the soft plastics, but the addition of the longer fibers gives it a little bit more movement, especially when the jig is paused. And just wrap up to the eye. You don't have to worry about crowding the eye too much. We're actually going to be crowding the eyes and closing off the articulation points. All the things you're not supposed to do for this jig, because we're trying to stiffen it up so it moves like the soft plastics do. For chenilles or materials like this that are a little bit thicker, I typically cut them off last and brush off the tag ends into the body. It just looks a little bit more cleaner than wrapping over those tag ends with your thread, but that's not super important. You can just use whatever glue you use to secure your thread wraps. I'm using bone dry here. This entire jig is going to come into being about 2.5 inches. So my next shank is going to be a 15 millimeter shank. And you'll be able to see once I start tying that I kind of break the cardinal rules and really close off those articulation points. That just gets it a lot stiffer so it moves like the soft plastics do. So just give yourself a nice thread base and just wrap that Easy Bug yarn all the way forward. If you don't have the Easy Bug yarn, you can also dub this body. There's chenilles you can use. There's brushes from Enrico Puglisi you can use. There's lots of options. I just like the colors and kind of that thicker body that the Easy Bug yarn gives me. So just wrap that forward, tie it off, and give her a good brush. I probably tend to overbrush, but that's not a bad problem to have. In various points in this video, you're going to hear my puppy playing with the chew toy. This is my first time doing a voiceover, and she does not appreciate the fact that I'm talking and I'm not talking to her, so she's jealous. So she adds ambiance, I think. So there, I'm just giving my thread wrap some glue and gonna cut the material off and give her another good brush. For the connection point between the jig head and this tail section, I'm going to be using 40-pound fluorocarbon. It's what I had on hand. You can use just about anything you want. I like using fluorocarbon or mono because it really allows me to close off that articulation point and really limit the movement of the tail. And you don't need a big section. I think mine's about a half an inch. And just want to do a bunch of really good secure wraps, and that tail's not going anywhere. You can add some glue to the thread wraps if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. You can also add a really short shank hook instead of using a tail section if you're getting short strikes. But since this is only about 2.5 inches, they usually just inhale it. So there I'm just picking out a few more fibers. Like every other part, we're just going to wrap that Easy Bug yarn forward. Once I get to the jig head, I'll do a couple turns that are tight to the back of the jig head. All that really does is make the transition from the jig head to the body a little bit smoother. It's aesthetics. Fish don't care, but might as well do it right if you're doing it. So I'm just going to secure that easy bug yarn. Just a few good wraps, cut it off. And then when my thread is kind of confined like this, I find adding glue to the your tying thread is a little bit more productive because glue doesn't get anywhere. Oh, and I forgot to mention I'm using Vivus 140, kind of my go-to thread these days. Just gonna hit it with a light and brush it out again. I'm going to take the jig out of the vise and rotate it so you can see if I'm not hitting it with my comb, the jig stays pretty soft, so it imitates the soft plastics really well. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and there'll actually be a link for these to be purchased at my website in the description below. Thanks.